So it's my privilege to welcome Cindi Claypatch today.
Sweetie. All right, so 2015, huh? How's it going so far? Today with our heat wave? All right. Well, thank you for coming. This is a special place at Lake Harriet. So when we're, looking at our lives, I think what we see a lot of times is at the beginning of a new year is a time for reflection. And so we start seeing that, it's an opportunity, I think, to be conscious of coming more into your mastery, to be who you truly are. That if we were who we truly were, it would be so bright in here we couldn't even handle it. One of those sayings, the future's so bright, I gotta get some shades, is that's really, if we could fall into that part of ourselves that is the pure, uncontaminated sense of ourselves, whatever word you want to use for that, your true self, your identity, your essence, that part of you that comes into the world with everything that you need is so close and yet so far. The minute that we start having thought, then that can end up taking us on or off of our core essence. Just seconds. One thought can take you off, one thought takes you on, but in the decrease of thought, you can be more on, right? And so that's why many of you have established practices that help you move out of your mind some, get to experience your true essence for a little bit. And then it's like back to the humanity. Would you mind shutting that door? Thank you. All right. Yeah, and so when we come into the new year, it's a great time to reflect on, who we truly are. Regardless of our experiences, regardless of our thought system, regardless of any of our memories, who we truly are is that essence. And then I think because we are also of this world, if we can be mindful of something that we want to enhance during the year is really good. Many times, the New Year's resolutions are, I'm going to not do this, and everything is sometimes big, so it makes it hard to achieve. And so I think when we're trying to come into some of our mastery, it's coming up with some themes that might be really useful for you during the years. So I put together, just some things. It's not complete, but some things that I think allow you to experience life fuller, yet not be at the expense of anybody else or yourself, And so, when we look at, it's a little darker on this computer, sorry. So showing up, I've been reading the old Carlos Castaneda books lately, and I've been, just so excited about so many of the things that he wrote, and they were written so long ago, in the 60s. So, but you have everything you need for this extravagant journey, that we call life. And so we came, we wanted to come here to journey this planet, to be in this form. And so it's like we've got what we need for the journey. Everything from the universe is within you, and ask that of yourself, is that we can elevate, we can expand, we can radiate out. We have so many different skills that we aren't often conscious of because we're so busy doing the details of life. So I wanted to spend today just talking about what I call showing up in life. That it's a gentle term, is how do I want to show up? And so that's how do I want to show up for myself? How do I want to show up for others? how would I like to show up for the planet? Because we're all in relationship with all of it. And so how do we show up in relationships? How do we show up with energy? And so it's a really gentle way of asking yourself something to be aware of when you tip off of your center. Is to just think about, wait a minute, is that how I want to show up? I said it to a little kid the other day when he was getting all cocky and, posturing and everything like that. And I said, is that how you want to show up? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, when you act like that, somebody sees it, which means you're showing up like that. And he was like, oh. It was just a simple, oh. And then he started listening and he wasn't doing it. But just not even being aware that, because his attitude was internal, that actually really looked like something external. So it's so simple sometimes that we miss that stuff. Eckhart Tolle says, you are the universe expressing itself as a human for a little while. It's nice, isn't it? It's like we get poured into this little earth suit, go about, try to expand, have our relationships, and experience what this planet is like. And so it's really powerful if you start thinking about, wow, I come into this space, and what can I do with it? I think it was one of the Raiders of the Lost Ark, or one of those kind of shows, and this woman ends up drinking. I might not have the right show, but it's one of that type of movies, and the woman starts drinking, and this guy says, what's a nice place like that doing in a girl like you? Meaning like that essence inside of her, but her not looking so great because she was drunk. And so it's one of those things. So, like I said, it's showing up. How do we want to bring our energy forward to be in service to ourselves and others and the planet? So one thing I think of is like, so many times burning bright, people worry about that it's going to be flaunting, a nice feeling. And then sometimes people will say something like, well, you can't be happy all the time. Well, maybe so, maybe not. Depends on what your level of understanding is. But it's not being afraid to burn bright, and you can burn bright in humility, right? You can burn bright in humor. You take that energy and you get it behind something that works well, and then that's in alignment with who you truly are, then you are brighter. Energetically, your field goes out, the frequency ups. How many of you have ever had the experience where you were in a really nice mood and you went to maybe a convenience store or the gas station and you walked in and you felt the rub of somebody who wasn't? And sometimes they get mad at you then, and you're walking and you're going, what did I do? It might not be that you did anything, but you were burning bright. That you were in that essence of your true state of consciousness, animating you. And for some people, it might be a rub. But would you want to go dim so that they're more comfortable? Not so much. But it doesn't mean that in the presence of somebody who might be struggling and not doing so well, that you would sit and talk all about all the good things happening to you, because they would want to slap you. So it's the delicate balance, isn't it, of you knowing when, and how to use your energy so that it's actually uplifting other people. So you might just have a kind word for the person behind the counter. So it's one of those funny things, like we don't want to be in our head about, well, is this too bright or is that too dim? Or, that would be the left brain trying to capture the beautiful essence. But just noticing, just being aware, like, how am I showing up? Am I showing up in my head? Is it getting in the way of my being bright? Could I bring a beautiful feeling to the room? What can I offer? Be generous yet set limits. Another one of those balancing acts, huh? Because when you're people who are caring and empathic and in service to other people, you can do that to the point of burning out, can't you? So it's that being in service, being generous, but the generosity may not always mean your effort. The generosity might just be your feeling that you bring to a place. The energy, the prayer, the intention. And then it's some of the tasks and the running around for somebody, or the taking care of somebody. But it's that part of us thinking about, how do I want to show up? There's nothing worse than like a time when I was younger and I went to a stress-free living seminar, and the guy was pacing the whole time. And then during the break, he went out and beat a cigarette and had a cup of coffee. And I remember watching him and thinking like, whoa. And I did not go back to the second part of the day. Because it's like, if we're spent, then we really aren't a living example, And so we have to build in ways that we're in service to ourselves. The generosity for ourselves. Like, how could you be generous to yourself? Well, even just laying down for 20 minutes, Even just asking for just a little bit of space. Having a time in the morning or the late night where you get just to be in your own energy. That's being generous to yourself. And then it's like, how can we be generous to others? Well, if you have read any of the love languages, it's sometimes being love language of giving, sometimes of helping out with something, sometimes just nurturance, So you look at some of these ways that might just be generous to somebody else, even if it's not something you really want to do. I've been recently watching football because my mom loves football. So I feel like that's something I didn't used to do. But it's a generosity for me. Like, I want to be generous. I want to show up for her because it's the one thing that she really misses since my dad passed, was somebody to watch football. And so it's just for me, for somebody else, they'd think, hey, great, I get to sit and watch football. What's your problem, Cindi? But it isn't really my favorite thing, because as working with energy and energy healing, to watch people smash each other all day, it's just a little different than what I would call a good time. And then if you are a high sensor, then you sometimes feel that stuff too. You feel it from what's going on the TV. So if the coaches are just screaming and then they start fighting and stuff, I'm like, I feel like I'm in the game. But it's important to her, and it's not at a sacrifice to me. If I set my intention to stay in my own energy, if I kind of shield up a little bit of the intensity, I have the volume down, that really helps. And then I take breaks. So I'm in service to myself while I'm being generous. And so it's simple like that, but how are we generous to the planet? What are you offering to the planet? So being generous might be as simple as using less paper products. Might be as simple as that. When I was in Japan one time, my brother lives there, and I went to see him, and it was so interesting how everybody carried their own handkerchief. And then when they went into any bathroom, washed their hands, they pulled out their own thing. Can you imagine how that would decrease the amount of waste we have. And that's just a norm for them. It's fascinating. So I see it as a generosity to the planet. I think for resolutions, a lot of times people get into they're going to save money or they're going to not buy this anymore or they're going to, and that kind of thing. And I think it's really wonderful to be mindful, but with the balance of not thinking of lack. Because those of you who know law of attraction, we know that if we're in that space of lack, then we're less abundant. So it's a mindfulness. It's a part of just watching it and feeling it versus thinking it or needing it. I was reading something from a CNN report or a blog a couple nights ago that was on spending and mindfulness. And it was really interesting that they said that if you could surf your desire for a little while, like just check out your desire, like is it a need? Is it a want? Is it a habit? And kind of surf that a lot of times as people just kind of reflect a little bit in that, they tend to not need whatever they thought they had seen. You see a commercial, and you're like, oh, especially the way they do food commercials, it's like you immediately connect with that and start then a desire for it. But you might have just ate. So do you really need to hop in the car and head to Perkins? So it's that kind of thing whenever you see the stuff come up on it's an amazing thing how they do that with the internet, isn't it? That if you look at something once, then you start seeing it on any other page you go. Popping up, popping up, popping up. Just trying to hook that desire again, even though you might have thought, oh yeah, that would have been a good idea, but I don't really need it. Well, now it's back up, it's back up. So it's fascinating, isn't it? So it's that part about us just being able to start saying, oh, what is it that I need? And if you feel your own energy, you will feel a completeness. And that completeness then maybe wants to experience other things. Nothing wrong with having things. But that idea of needing to have it versus able to have it, just wanting to have it, it's really different. It's coming from a whole different energy. One is looking outside in for something in a place of lack, like you need that thing in order to be okay. Well, we need food, we need clothing, we need connection. It's interesting that what people have been showing in where people have connection, they have less need for external things. So just the connection. You connect with a child that's a difficult child when they come home from school and you connect with them at the door, the rest of your time is going to be a lot better. Because that connection is what somebody's looking for. Ease without judgment. It's a hard one in our culture sometimes. But it's a great theme. When I was young, I used to try to come up with a theme for the year, like I've been saying. And in the early days, it was just things like, it's okay to say no. Because my habit was so much in caretaking that I didn't say no. So I would practice that for a year, and then I would add on to things. Well, this was a common one in a group that I have at my house, and it was like everybody last year was hoping for ease. And it's that part of how do we find ease? You can find it in just very simple things, giving yourself just some space. Breathing allows you to have ease. How else do people find ease? It's just kind of sometimes a good question to step back, to just see, am I efforting everything? Or if I fell into alignment, would things happen with more ease? Because ease doesn't always mean doing less. It means just being in the nice feeling while you're doing things. And I can guarantee you that when my head is efforting and thinking I'm the one in my mental way doing my life, it's a lot different than when life is living through me. We are in the culture, and I think we've talked about this before here, but of the culture that is so much looking at what's horrifying or terrifying or awful in the world, we call it awfulizing, that it's that part about turning on the eye for beauty, being able to look in the mirror and see yourself as something that's beautiful. I mean, an amazing thing that we have this body, isn't it? This body that knows what to do, growls when you're hungry, gets dry when you're thirsty, picks up the pace in your heart if you need to go faster. I mean, that is amazing. If we thought about building ourselves, trying to bring in emotions and insights and energy and everything all together in this body, wouldn't that be amazing if we could? It's just, we haven't been able to clone ourselves. They work on it in the science way. But just thinking about all the different things that your body has to do and seeing the beauty in that. Maybe you don't like your appearance when you look in the mirror some days, especially if you're in a low mood. And then you look in the mirror, but wow, still amazing that there's a time that your body wants to rise up out of bed. The beauty of that gift of the day. It's pretty amazing. And so when we start looking at the beauty, then we start seeing it elsewhere. You see it in other people. You see it in yourself. Somebody said to me the other day, "Oh, Cindy, you just say the nicest things. You're just so beautiful." And I said, she would not even be able to say that had it not been within her. It's the recognition of something here has to come from inside here. And so it was so fun to watch that. And when I said that back to her, it was as if her energy took note and her field went like that and then back down. Just as it did just in here. I don't know if you felt it. But it's like that which honors that beauty within you is what will also expand and radiate the energy out. And so it's very powerful. And so then you go and you look out in nature. I mean, the planet, seeing the beauty in the planet just is amazing. A lot of times people are afraid to, well, I shouldn't say afraid to, but a lot of times people's habit is that when they want to think positive or see the beauty kind of thing in a way like that, then they will shut off what else is happening in the world. And so we don't want to do that where we, at the risk of somebody else, don't take note of what else is going on. So you don't have to be inundated, with the news or the negativity, but you want to be able to know that you and your energy, you and your beauty can send something when you see other places that aren't so beautiful right now. You can lend your energy. You can lend your intentions. You can make donations. Some people go and assist. There's a woman, I don't know, Katie Murnier, she was in Time magazine under the People of the Year, and it was the Ebola fighters is what they called them. And what is so amazing about her is she feels totally at home in the slums of Liberia right now, where she is attending to the children. And her, maybe you saw it on, I think it was 60 Minutes, but her mom said that she's safest wherever God wants her to be. Isn't that nice? And then when they said, "How would you describe your daughter?" She said, "She's a bubble of love." Which to me, in energetic terms, that's our energy field. It's like an egg, a bubble. And she is walking in that and just radiating love. And now her mom must be generous in spirit, right? To not be trying to hold her back. So it's an interesting play that they have going on. I suspect that if they were in a room together, their energy would be just flowing like this, back and forth, because of that connection, and that connection with something bigger. So we want to be able to still see the stuff that's happening. You don't want to walk around heavy-hearted about it, because that doesn't contribute anything to the universe and the feeling. But you can recognize it and then go into that state of gratitude for you and abundance, and then project some energy or some intention, some money or something that you can offer in your way for other people who aren't in that place of beauty right now. See, that's a cute picture. How young we start keeping our stuff. Yeah. It's an interesting thing of how everybody probably went through that stage of mine, right? You see it all the time, 2 years of age, mine. And so it's not just mama, dada, mine. So it's that recognition that I need something, but do I have to be greedy about it? So you can want a nice vacation, but do it within your means, not taking from somebody else. And wanting certain things in a relationship without being greedy too. Like sometimes people want all of somebody's time, and then the other person doesn't get to have some space, right? Somebody might be greedy about, that's a strong term, and I don't need it to be that strong, but it illustrates the point, is like somebody who might always be the listener in a conversation. And I have a sister who said to me the other day, she said, I have been meeting with this friend of mine for probably 3 years, every month, and she has yet to ask me, what am I doing? Isn't that interesting? So then I was like, wow, that's interesting. So is that person going to show up for you? How long might you want to be in that kind of relationship? Yeah. Is there something you could help to guide that? And that doesn't mean it's ego, and it doesn't mean that you're greedy. It just means that, like in Peru, it would be called aini, the reciprocity. And their whole culture is based on that reciprocity, which is a nice way of showing up in the world, isn't it? That there's some way that we give and take. We get to experience stuff, but we also give. And then this one is one that I think is kind of interesting, because it's when people want patience, the habit could be, isn't that great? Come on, inner peace, I don't have all day. Sure way to find it, right? And then the other extreme is be patient, good things come to those who wait. Like sometimes people will never ask for what they need because they're being patient, right? And so it's like, you could be patient to a fault, but you also could be intolerant to a fault. So could you be patient with yourself about something that isn't your greatest gift? Could you be, I was working with a little kid the other day, and he says, I just don't get math. And I said, that's okay. He goes, how can it be okay when you keep getting D's? I said, yeah, that's a little bit of a challenge, isn't it? I said, but, being patient, there's a point at which all of a sudden the principles of things click. And then now it isn't just 2 + 2 = 4, but you could go 131 + 151 equals, whatever. So it's like the principle is that the plus sign in the middle is what you start to get, And so he was like, oh, I said, just be patient, because it's going to come to you when you're less worried about it. And then other people his age might just avoid it because they might just skip class. So when we're being patient, it doesn't mean that we aren't attending to things. You know, you want to still be connecting with things, attending to them, offering something with others. How many people have to exercise patience in your relationships? So can you be patient with yourself about not being good at maybe communicating, or not being good at seeing some of the things your partner sees automatically? And then can you be patient and watch your partner maybe not do something that you find easy? It's just such an interesting thing, the separate realities of why we're together. Finding humor, but not at the expense of others. Isn't that great? Let the mailman come to you. Yeah. So that's a play on patience too, is that stuff comes to us. You know, we don't have to push an effort, but we want to take active steps, so there's a balance between those things. But I think the humor is that part of us that, everybody feels better when they laugh. You know, you guys do laughter yoga here, and it's because it really helps. It's being brought into nursing homes and schools and everything because of the boost to your system. So whenever you are in a low place, for me, if you just Google funny pet things, that's enough. I mean, within seconds, I see something that is so crazy. So our nice feeling matters to the whole. If you see yourself as like one of those dandelions, it's a dandelion dress. Isn't that interesting? And so it's like each of us, in what we're feeling and what we're getting to in our essence and our energy, is being out in the rest of the universe. Because we are just one piece, but in a holographic reality. If you watch that show Bones ever, there's that beautiful example, again, of how they put in just one bone fragment and then they can see the person. And so they're looking at something holographically. That's just one piece, connects to everything. So let's say we wanted to really fall in a feeling of love and support for the people in Liberia, we would just go into that feeling, and that would get to them. It would get to them even bigger if you pushed it out. Because as soon as you, with intent, decide to push the energy in a direction, push it out, then it's that much more like an energetic email or an fax that just transmitted through the fields to that person. So as we come in that place for ourselves, that's why I say if we come into our own mastery, then we're going to be sending that out into the world. So we all have our things. Does anybody have a theme for the year yet? Might be one to think about is just what do you want to notice this year? The ones I've listed are just some of them to give you an idea of how when you bring something into your consciousness and you're mindful of it, not judgmental of yourself for it, just mindful, then it's like you start embodying that. And you might be clumsy sometimes. You know, we all are as we're starting something or shifting, coming into a new aspect of ourselves. But your blueprint is totally already there. So it's like imagining I want to line up with my blueprint and because the blueprint is all encompassing, what do I really want to experience more in my life? I get to start directing if I know that. So it's like coming into where are we going this year? How do we want to show up? So, would you like to do a meditation to come into that? Okay. Do you have any music that would... I'm sorry, I should have said that earlier. Okay. So always good to have your feet on the floor, feeling your toes, wiggling them, releasing any places of tension that you feel as you sit. Dropping your shoulders and imagining yourself as so much more than your earth suit. Imagining yourself so much more than your personality. But within your blueprint, you could explore any personality, any aspect of yourself. Any area that you wanted to have for expansion. See if you can't line up your intent using your free will to imagine finding whatever you're looking for, like there's a pattern inside of you and one out in the field. And all you need is the intent to connect to it. So there's a pattern for patience. There's a pattern for radiance. There's a pattern for tolerance. There's a pattern for giving, compassion, excitement. See if you can't drop your consciousness into your heart space. And what in your heart space are you longing? It's like looking for the pattern of forgiveness, looking for the pattern of giving. Using your own higher self to determine what you need more of, what you'd like to experience more of, how you would like to show up more in the universe and in your world and in your families. How would you like your heart space to show up? On your in-breath, imagine the connection. Now in your solar plexus, the part in your belly, in the highest state of security, which is the upside of that region, the part of you that is fine and comfortable with who you are. The part of you that has your will and your seat of your power. What would you like to bring forward with that power? If it were like light getting behind a film, what part of your security and your well-being would you like to project? Going down to your feet. The feet that take you on so many paths. What path would you like to walk on for a while? Would it be the path of ease? The path of some interests? Path of compassion, or quietude. Imagining that if you just picked up your foot and stepped on a path, it just lit up for you, and you went about your way. Breathing into your feet from the earth, the energy to do and get through whatever's on your path. Now go up to your third eye and your crown. And imagine that you're so connected to the cosmos, the fields, to God, to the all that is. And that there's a knowing within the field of how to do life. And what is your next steps? And imagine it just funneling in with such ease from above. The ability to see the bigger picture and to see some of your mastery that you're meant to come into. And imagine that that comes in from above. Opens your third eye so that you can see and perceive on so many levels. And with the breath, take it down into your heart space to connect the energy of the cosmos to whatever your themes are for this year. You can bring your heart to whatever it is you want. And you're supported from the infinite. Now imagine you're a channel with the energy running from the cosmos down through your system to your feet to be met with this planet on how you're meant to be, and what you'd like to do, what you'd like to be, how you'd like to show up. Breathing the energy up from the earth all the way through your system to connect with the fields and to spirit. And explore that there's a relationship always that is your true self, your being with the infinite. And imagine from your heart space, whatever your themes are for this year, that you have rays that can come out from your heart to include all the people in your life so that you can show up with them with greater ease. And as you develop those filaments and encode with those energies and those patterns for what you'd like to see, offer any of them that can help the planet to be able to be picked up to the larger state of consciousness. Feeling totally supported, imagining that you're fueled and you're full and you're ready. Bring that energy into your own field. Imagine it filling up in your bubble, totally to support you, because it really is you, the true you, the you that has no self-limiting thoughts, the you before the contamination of habits or ideas. Feel your essence. And claim it. Letting that energy go in and out of your body, through your beautiful body, through your tissue, out into your field, and back again. Now thank your higher self your ideas of your higher power, the earth, and all the people in your life for being a part of your path and the expansion of yourself. And let that gratitude be in your heart. And in your breath. So that you're fortunate for this day, this year, and this lifetime. Taking your energy and breathing it into your heart space. Sending it down through your body to connect to the earth so that you're grounded with these new aspects of yourself. And you ask that your higher self monitor when you come into the gifts and when you come into the themes and the things that you work on, so that you come into them in a beautiful time-released manner. One that allows you to stay grounded, in touch with yourself, with the people in your life, and the planet. Slowly wiggle your toes. Move your legs. Flex your shoulders. And then open your eyes. Very good. Have a great day.